All right, let's jump into another deep dive. This week in the NFL was wild.
Yeah, for sure.
We've got two big games to break down.
Okay.
The Steelers and the Ravens, of course.
The last sick rivalry.
And then over in Houston, that wild card game between the Chargers and the Texans.
Oh, yeah, that one was crazy.
Both games had some serious twists and turns, things even diehard fans probably didn't see coming.
I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was just how unpredictable everything was.
Yeah.
Like, take the Ravens and the Steelers, right?
Okay.
You'd think with the way the Ravens have been dominating, I mean, winning their last 4 games by an average of 23 points.
Oh, yeah, and the Steelers haven't been doing so hot.
Exactly. Everyone thought the Ravens would just roll over them.
But it ended up being a lot closer than people expected.
Oh, way closer.
Kyle Felcher over at CNN had this amazing description of the atmosphere at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore.
Oh, yeah.
It was freezing cold. All the fans were bundled up in their team gear.
Love that.
Just that classic rivalry energy, you know.
You can't beat that.
It just shows you how much these teams, no matter their records, always bring their A game when they play each other.
They really do. It's like all bets are off when those two teams meet.
And then you've got Derrick Henry. Glenn Levy at CNN called him like a late-season juggernaut.
He's been unstoppable.
He's a beast.
More rushing yards, more yards per carry, more touchdowns.
It's like December hits and he just flips a switch.
Right. Like he kicks into another gear.
I think the most fascinating thing about him is that he just seems to get stronger as the game goes on.
Really?
You know, most running backs start to tire out, but not Henry.
Must be frustrating for defenses.
It is. He just wears them down with his power and vision. Don't forget, he completely ran all over the Steelers a few weeks ago, 162 yards.
That's right. I'd forgotten about that. So going into this game, everyone was wondering if the Steelers had figured out a way to contain him.
Yeah, that 6-man front they tried last time didn't really work out for them.
So did they switch things up this time? They did make some adjustments, yeah. They were really focused on filling those gaps and trying to game tackle him.
Which I imagine is easier said than done.
Oh, definitely. But I think before we get into the specifics of that game, we should probably switch gears and talk about that Chargers-Texans game in Houston.
Oh, for sure. That one was a roller coaster.
So many unexpected turns.
Even with some key players out on defense, the Texans just shut down Justin Herbert and that Chargers offense.
I was so impressed with their defensive performance.
I know.
Even without name-missing player and name-missing player, they still managed to sack Herbert 4 times.
Wow.
And they held the Chargers' rushing attack to just 26 yards.
And they picked off Herbert, what, 3 times?
3 times.
That's incredible. That Chargers offense is supposed to be so potent.
Exactly. That just shows how well the Texans were coached and how prepared they were for that game.
It's like they had a specific game plan for Herbert and the Chargers, and they executed it perfectly.
It really was a clinic on how to shut down a high-powered offense.
But, you know, the Texans' own offense didn't look so great at the beginning.
No, they were sputtering a bit early on.
It took that crazy botch snap that somehow turned into a 34-yard gain to get them going.
Oh, man, talk about making the best of a bad situation. That play was a real momentum shifter. It was like it woke the whole team up.
The whole stadium, too.
And a few plays later, we got what I can only describe as a Garo Yepremian moment.
Oh, you mean when the Chargers had that extra point blocked and the Texans ran it back for 2 points?
That's the one! That was crazy. It was wild. For those who don't get the reference,
Tell us, explain that one.
Garo Yepremian was a kicker for the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, way back in the day.
Back in the 70s. Super Bowl 7th, he had a field goal blocked and then tried to pass the ball, but it got intercepted in return for a touchdown by the Redskins.
Classic blunder.
It's basically become this, like, shorthand for any bizarre special teams play that goes hilariously wrong.
And in this case, it totally swung the momentum in the Texans' favor. But there were so many other crazy moments in that game.
Tell me about it.
You had Joe Mixon fumbling, and then the Chargers couldn't even capitalize on it.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And then there was that overturned interception call on Derwin James.
Oh, right.
Which gave the Texans another chance to score.
It's crazy how one play, one call from the refs can totally change everything.
Especially in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, the stakes are so high, every single play matters. Speaking of high stakes, let's get back to that Steelers-Ravens game.
Oh, right, yeah. I'm dying to know how those defensive adjustments the Steelers made actually worked against Derrick Henry.
Well, they did a much better job of containing him this time around, way better than last time they played.
So their plan's working.
Yeah, they were really swarming to the ball, making sure to wrap him up. They really limited his big runs.
It was a team effort.
Totally. But Henry's the kind of player that just wears defenses down. He keeps pounding and pounding.
And eventually he breaks through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what happened in the second half.
He started finding those holes.
Yep. And the Ravens offense started to control the clock. It was classic Ravens football.
So it sounds like it was the Ravens' experience and just their overall balance that won them the game.
I think so, yeah. They've got Russell Wilson at quarterback. He's a veteran, can make all the throws.
Right.
They've got a solid running game with Henry, and their defense isn't too shabby either.
It's a tough team to beat.
For sure. But hey, we got to give some love to C.J. Stroud.
Oh, yeah, the Texans' young quarterback. He had a great game.
He really stepped up and led his team to a playoff win.
It's huge for his confidence.
Absolutely. He showed a ton of poise and leadership out there, made some really clutch throws, especially towards the end of the game.
He definitely has the potential to be something special.
I think so, too.
You know, his performance really makes you think about all the parity in the league this year.
Yeah.
You've got these young quarterbacks like Stroud coming in and making a splash. Veteran players like Henry and Wilson proving they've still got it.
They're not done yet.
And then defenses like the Texans just shutting down these high-powered offenses.
It really makes you wonder if we're seeing a changing of the guard in the NFL, you know?
Yeah, is this the future of the league, or are the big-name teams going to bounce back?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Hard to say for sure. But one thing's for sure, things are definitely changing, and it's making for some really interesting football.
I think what we saw this weekend in both of those games, it really shows how the league's shifting.
How so?
You've got veteran experience going up against this young energy, these established teams against these underdog contenders, and the results are totally unpredictable.
And that's what makes it so fun to watch.
Oh, absolutely. As a fan, you never know what's going to happen next.
Right. And as we head into the next round of the playoffs, I think we can expect even more surprises.
Oh, for sure.
So what are you looking forward to the most in the next few weeks?
Well, I'm really curious to see how these young quarterbacks, guys like Stroud, handle the pressure of playing on an even bigger stage.
Yeah, they've got the talent.
But can they keep their cool, make good decisions when the pressure's really on?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they handle it.
And of course, we can't count out the veterans.
Oh, definitely not. Guys like Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes, they're always a threat.
Those guys know how to win in the playoffs.
So it'll be a battle between the young guns and the old guard.
It'll be interesting to see who comes out on top.
This is shaping up to be one of the most exciting and unpredictable postseasons we've seen in a while.
I completely agree. We're in for a wild ride.
That about wraps up our deep dive into this weekend's NFL action. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back next week with more analysis from the gridiron.
Can't wait.
Until then, keep your eyes on the playoffs and enjoy the ride. I think if you had to sum it all up for our listener, the biggest takeaway is that you just can't rely on, past performance or reputations to know what's going to happen in the playoffs.
No, not this year.
We've got these young quarterbacks like C.J. Stroud.
He's something else.
Taking their teams to these crazy upset wins, and then the veteran powerhouses like the Ravens.
Right. Proving that experience still counts for something.
It's wide open this year, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Totally agree. I think we're seeing this new wave of talent coming into the league.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really shaking things up.
In a good way.
Yeah, it's not just about the big names anymore.
Right.
Teams like the Texans, they're showing that with the right coaching and a little bit of luck, anyone can go far.
That's a great reminder.
Definitely.
That in the NFL, any given Sunday or Saturday can bring surprises.
For sure. And in the playoffs, those surprises, they matter even more.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, think about that blocked extra point in the Texans game.
Oh, yeah.
If that doesn't happen, who knows what would have happened.
It's those moments, the unpredictable stuff that keeps us coming back for more.
Totally keeps you on the edge of your seat.
As we look ahead to the next round, what are you most excited for?
I'm really curious to see how these young quarterbacks handle playing on this bigger stage.
Yeah.
They've shown us they've got the skills.
Right.
But can they keep their heads when everything's on the line?
It's going to be fascinating to watch.
Absolutely.
We can't forget about those veteran quarterbacks still out there either.
Oh, no way.
Guys like Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes.
Always a threat.
They know how to win when it matters most.
They do.
So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top, the young guns or the old guard.
It's going to be an exciting finish to the season.
This is shaping up to be one of the most unpredictable and exciting postseasons in a while.
It really is.
We can't wait to see what happens next.
Me neither. Buckle up, everyone. It's going to be a wild ride.
That's all the time we have for our deep dive this week.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back next week with more analysis from the gridiron.
Sounds good.
Until then, keep your eyes on the playoffs and enjoy the games.